Good evening. Good evening, everyone. Maz okay speaking to us. Um, I just want to welcome us to today's evening broadcast that is going to be centered on the Southeastern governors, the fact that they have banned open grazing. I say, I hope that is true and I hope that is going to be enforced. Sometimes with our leaders, you kind of get, you sometimes we don't even get angry enough because this is what we've been saying. As if I knew that this news was coming, I was discussing with a friend who rang me today saying, Mazi, what can we do? And I said to him, probably he's watching now, I said to him, I think the issue now is no longer with the governors. The issue now is that we must find a way to push all the people that are in the state assembly because I honestly consider that they are our problem. Because if they had passed the law to ban open grazing, then the governors wouldn't have had any issues in terms of not doing the needful. However, be that as it may, as it is now, we have found out, or rather today, I found out this evening, it became a breaking news that the Southeast governors, let me quickly share my screen, that the Southeast governors have obviously banned open grazing, which says here, that's today's Tribune newspaper, that's today, you can see that. And it says that the governor of the Ebonyi State and chairman of the Southeast Governors Forum, engineer Dave Omahi, on Monday today said that governors in the zone have banned open grazing. They have banned open grazing. And this is one thing we have been, why did you, well, why did you take you people this long? It's something we've been clamoring for. Something we've been clamoring for. It is absolutely insanity. Insanity. In 21st century, someone is going to match a cow from Sokoto to Bayelsa or to Anambra or to Imo or to where or to Oyo Ogun, Ibadan, it doesn't matter where. But in 21st century, knowingly or unknowingly, some people have actually argued that there is a deliberate plan of a structured invasion of the South. Why there is another school of thought that says, well, there is no plan, but there is a deliberate, orchestration, or that the president is somehow keeping a blind eye. Listen, you get to a point, irrespective of which school of thought you subscribe to, you're right. Honestly, irrespective of the school of thought that you are subscribed to, you are freaking right. I'm being honest because it can only make you at some point to wonder, why did we wait this long? Well, some people have told me in private conversation today, well, better late than never. And I would say, I agree, better late than never. He said that Dave Umahi made his known during an APC stakeholders meeting held in a Christian Ecumenical Center, Abakaliki. He then enjoined leaders to exhibit patriotism in their conduct to guarantee the unity of the region rather than playing politics with security of the zone. Okay? So the key point here is that they have finally banned open grazing after a lot of things have gone wrong. You know, there are videos that I receive sometimes, and I you know, I ask myself, how did we even get to this point? How? What is wrong with us? How did we get to this point? I'll show us this clip. You know, I know it's late and it's not planned. I wouldn't want to keep us too long this evening, but I want to share this with us so for us to understand that a lot is happening, you know, within the Southeast and within the and the Southwest. And we are not keeping quiet. On this platform, I will join us by 5 o'clock Nigerian time in 2 days' time. On Thursday, there will be a conference of the whole southern Nigeria and the Middle Belt regarding the Herdsmen Menens. That will be on this platform, and I will be moderating it. So we have leaders who converge here, and what we're going to seek is for solution, because we need unity of purpose. We cannot stay in our houses and be invaded by marauders. Granted that sometimes some of them are foreigners, but who cares? If you can, a man who is elected who campaigned for so many years and got elected to be a president of a nation can allow invaders to invade his nation that he swore on oath to protect the territorial integrity, that man is not fit for purpose and is not fit to be a president. If we had men with bows, not rubber stampers, then we should be talking about impeachment. That's the right thing to do. Because if you allow your borders without consequences for people to invade and kill your citizens, then you are not qualified to be a leader and you should be impeached. Yes, I said it. Because it's absolute madness. You go to Middle Belt, you see invaders. You go to the Southeast. Well, basically, Southeast remain the most secured place in Nigeria today. Take it or leave it. But that doesn't take out the fact that we have people invading the land, and that nonsense must stop. Well, I don't want to really get so angry because sometimes I sit back. I don't want to, you know, there are things, I see videos, I see stuff that many of you would never dream of, but I just keep quiet just because we want to see if we can have a reasonable conversation. But if you cannot have a reasonable conversation with a bunch of people who are unreasonable, I can't imagine why somebody, I mean, it smacks of barbarism. A farmer will go to farm, spend all the time, plant your crops, harvest your crop, and someone will come and do something like this in your farm. Someone will come in your farm and basically take your crops and feed them to the animal. Come on now.
So I don't know how Penyalla bangol be chay e ka be nata e ka sen penyalla bangol non ta dum hodi o gaw ko e gari ko kata kon fukko ko kettuno mo dum wari an andi bo hina e kulon non tan kulon non im banadi godi kulon ada be garay ono be ganta be garam le be kulena to e kaw do dole mabbe kawu dunya kaminani aba wodi wobbe le kya han ori la woyla ama wallahi to bana johi be gay amani be jiri duwa ajo burti be burti inta gan duwa ajo hina.
Okay, so let me try a different one. Let me try a different one. And you wonder, how do we even make this argument? That's the thing I ask people. How do we even make this argument? It's very simple. Get, ranch. You say no. Just, do ranching. You say no. I mean, what manner of stupid people are we that you cannot ranch? Ranch, just do not stop moving cows by the road. It becomes an impossible thing for you to do. Okay, so what I want to show us is something, because I want to use this evening to explain something to us that will make sense. I don't know if anyone has done this before. And what I want to do is very simple, yet I want us all to pay attention. I want to pull up a fact that is going to help us put into perspective my conversation with us this evening. The video you just watched is people, human beings like you and I, they are herdsmen, but they are in ranch. And this is in Nigeria. So how come somebody's business is going to cost us too much wahala in this nation? Now, come to think of it, let me expose something to us this evening. Come to think of it. The landmass of all these people causing the trouble is nothing to write home about comparatively to ours. I will explain. I will share this document with us, and you can go make your independent findings. Now, this document, I was hold on. So the document is loading. That's the document is going to show us what I mean. So this document is nothing else but a clear indication of state landmass, which state has the largest landmass and what is happening at each. Like I said, something is not playing. Something is not playing right today, but we'll get there. Sorry about any interruption there, but let me quickly come back to what I was about to share with us. I will share this once more. Okay, I hope you can see it now. And this is the document. Watch this document. Now, what I want to explain to us with this document is, this is Nigerian 36 states, ranked in order of land surface, that is how big they are. Now, Niger State is the highest in Nigeria with 676.363 square kilometer space. This is more than many nations. Now, if anybody watching me now, if you can quickly pull up the land space of Netherlands, If someone, please, if you can pull it up and put it in the comment section, I want us to engage this evening because we are getting somewhere. Bonu, for instance, it's 70.8 kilometers square miles, right? And Taraba 54. Now, if you look at the top 10, you talk about northwest, northeast, northwest, northwest, northeast, and northeast. Again, some people say north central, basically, right? Now, it means not. You go to the 10, it's the same thing. You only begin to come to the middle belt when you talk about this. Well, basically north central as well, Plateau. But you talk about coming down south when you talk about the 14th, which is this state you're looking at called Oyo. Is almost the size of the entire Southeast. I think many of you didn't know this up to now. Oyo State alone is almost the size of the entire Southeast. And Oyo is where you have this crisis emanating in the Yoruba land. Now come down to where it gets interesting. The smallest state in Nigeria is Lagos, followed by Anambra State. Now look at it. 4.8 kilometer square mile. 4.8. Even bigger than Singapore. When you hear a nation called Singapore, even bigger than Singapore. Imo State is 5.5. Ebonyi State is 5.6. Abia State. Does it not strike you that, with the exception of Lagos State, that the Southeast is the smallest of them all? Cumulatively, I'm here. Oyo State, which I said here, let me put a color to it. Oyo State here is 28.45 kilometers, which is close to 29. Basically, in mathematics, if it goes over 28.5, then obviously you can round it up. But for argument's sake, 28, the whole Southeast, 29. It means we are not even going to the northern state. The whole of Anambra, Enugu, Abia, Imo, Ebonyi is only the size of Kogi State in the middle belt, or rather in the north central. Now, Yoruba nation is also big. If you put Ogun, Oyo, Osun, Ondo, Ekiti, they will give you, excluding Lagos State, it will now be the size of Niger State alone. Niger, again, bear in mind, is the biggest state in Nigeria. Okay. Where is the Southeast? Southeast starts from Kogi, right? Kogi, close to this. Kogi, only one state, entire Southeast. Now, doesn't it beat you silly that are the people who are in this state, do they have coconut or sand dust in their brains that they cannot find a way to ranch or drill water and create irrigations? We have nations in Africa, in the whole world, that are desert, yet human being. Dubai is one, Kuwait is one. These are desert land, yet they have cows. If you want to look at it the other way, Nigeria is not even among in the whole world, 20 meat-producing nations. In 2021, cows. I saw a picture today, how cows, move around in Abuja, and one can only say, man, this is a federal capital territory. Is a capital territory, because that's what it is a capital. It's no longer a capital. It's a capital. So let's get back to it. Okay, Netherlands. Thanks, Ozo. Let's, Ozo. You see, Netherlands is 41.5 square kilometer, right? That's Netherlands. That produces meat, milk, dairies. You say, hey, Hollandisch milk. You drink milk. It's produced in the Netherlands. If you come back to the again, let us look for a state that is within the 45 region. Yet, look at it, 45,000 as well, like Netherlands. Yet poverty stricken. If you're from Yobe and you are a girl, you get into unitary school, you need two, the mark 2 out of 200. If you're Mabia State or Imo State or Anambra State, you must score a minimum of 139. Now tell me why a state that has accepted failure, a state that has accepted, to stay down, how would that state ever compete in the Committee of Nations? You accept to go to unity school, secondary school, federal. Unity school is what we call federal government colleges with 2. Meaning, even if you are an imbecile, even if you are an idiot, you do turubom, guesswork. Assuming, because, the exam is OBJ. They gave you an exam paper. You are an idiot, total idiot. You have your brain has gone to the market and you forgot it in the market. Just keep shading A. So you tell me that in that exam you get nothing less than 15. And here we have Yobe, 45,000 square kilometer. Go back to Netherlands. Netherlands has 45,000 square kilometer. I am not making the comparison in the sense that obviously they have a different history, but at least we are humans, for Christ's sake. What gets me angry is that we will have Niger with 76,000 freaking, and we are here talking. Why? Listen, even if you kill everybody in the Southeast, let's assume, for argument's sake, you kill everybody in the Southeast and you take 29,000. Are you not an imbecile? Why can't you just find something you can do? Because if you divide this into 4, you will still have more. Just, okay, take 10% of it. 10% of it is 7.5, 7.6. 7.6. There is 7.6 square meter mile. There is no state. Look at it. There is no state in the Southeast that is up to 7 point. The largest state in the Southeast is Abia State with 6.3 kilometer square. So basically, only 10% in Niger State would accommodate. That means take the whole of Abia State, turn it into ranch. That is what it means. Do we have sawdust in the brain? What is wrong with? Must be coming down, because the silliness sometimes will just really get at you and want to make you visibly angry, because you look at these things and you ask yourself, what manner of leaders do we have? Do we have idiots and cucumbers as leaders? People will go to farm, have their crops. The time for harvest will come. What will then happen? Someone will come and take the crops. Take it and feed it to the animal. Let me see if the video will play, please.
So teren nan ya ananta teren na amma iri pewol go nanata to ai dole non ka ga an
yo go ai dole fa daga duniya go yi an de ya yo ha e da kida foto di damen no pai ai mila are le ke lady kero duniya ru me ke du
wallahi
do de le hudo der jaha dum abdo ikiti wallahi mila le ke wodi ke to tawre no
ka tewre non ga Allah
do der jaha dum abdo ikiti tawre no
tewre non ga Allah kabe be torre ta hore mabbe be nyalla bangol be cai e ka be nata e ka fen be nyalla bangol
be na ko e ka hon
non da dum hodi o gaw ko we gari ko kata kon fukko ko kettuno mo dum wari an andi bo hina e kulo.
Now you can see this is somebody's sweat, and this is what they just done. Uproot somebody's cassava before you came to harvest them, chunk them for the cows. Tell me why this individual should not be charged with terrorism if we are a nation that have men with grey matters in between their skulls. Tell me one single reason why these individuals, we have their faces in camera, why shouldn't they be charged with terrorism? Given 100 years in prison, waste of space they are. Because this is capable of causing famine in the land, because if people can no longer go to their farms because we have idiots, subhumans, who could just basically do something like this. Jesus Christ. There is another video that I want to show.
So when they launched him, they used machetes and cut off bamboo before they were able to penetrate inside.
Now, I think I give us background to this video. You know, in the Igbo culture, we have what we call the yam bam, obaji. And this is a man who has harvested all his yam, store them in the yam barn, and someone will come with the cows. Not that the cows went in to destroy. He will use his own machete to cut off your yam barn and allow the cows to fester. I don't know how to quantify that crime, because it's nothing else as someone who, an armed robber who invades your house. In today's time, you watching me, you're a businessman, you have your shop, someone breaks into your shop. That's the same thing. Because we need to put these crimes in perspective. Now watch the video and see what the guy said.
It was tied like this. So when they launched him, they used machetes and cut off bamboo before they were able to penetrate inside.
So they tie this place round
and
they use their machete
and cut it off
to cut it off
before they brought in their cows.
so they can have access to the yam barn. Let me show you another face again. You can see yams
Scattered all over the
yes on the ground.
Here, some have been totally more than 2,500 pieces of yam.
They all destroyed here.
Look at some.
You can see this area is empty, being destroyed by the cow and their herdsmen.
There are more than 2,000 pieces of yam.
Over 2,000 pieces of yam
And we sell one at the rate of 600 naira.
are being destroyed.
We sell one
Yam,
at 600 naira.
you said?
We sell one at the rate of 600 naira.
Okay. Yam worth of 600 naira per one. All destroyed. You can see here it's empty now. They're all destroyed. Wasted all over the places. What a great loss. It is painful. Monday, Ojobo is the owner of this barn. As you can see how fenced it is. You can see it to protect the place. You can see it so that to protect the whole place.
So you can see it. And you keep asking yourself this question: what is the interest in, again, I think without really talking against one another, there is some fundamental thing here that need to be explained. It is a clear case of insanity to continue where you have had urbanization gone on for so long, then you have people still move cows in the way we do today. One is the cows, they are not robust enough, they're not, you don't have much meat as if they were in one place. And someone saying that, oh, you have desertification, you don't have enough green areas in the north, that's why they come down south. That is absolutely nonsense. That is absolutely, insanity to say something like that, because the people in the north, they drink water. That means anyone who is able to get water that they use to have a bath, that they will use to, do anything, can also use their brain to pump out water to create artificial green areas. Unless you're telling me that your brains are made of sandust, that is the only time we can probably forgive you, because your brains are not functioning. But if your brains are intact and your brains are functioning, then you should be able to, in all these landmass, the whole of Southeast, in fact, the whole of southern Nigeria, is equivalent of only 1-2 states. Yet, you leave all those spaces, so come to the jam-packed state and still want to cause trouble. How about now? Waiting, self. Eh? We go wrong, come out for now. What kind of insanity is this? You lead that realm, you go into the other time, my good friend Colonel Njenje had a conversation, and you can, one of the conversations he had with I think Ruben Abati, you can see clearly where he's basically situating the issues happening. Let me play you Conan Young so that you understand what I mean.
Secondly, as Ruben Abati earlier said about the incidents in Ogun State where the soldiers were seen to be trying to protect and intimidate the people. That in itself is something that I had to investigate. In my place in Ogoja, I had a Fulani friend, a very lovely man, who was killed in an encounter with people in my area. And I was very cross with my people and went to intervene to see why was this Fulani man who had settled in our community, lived so well with us, why would he have been killed? Incidentally, this gentleman was killed in a crossfire. What was the crossfire? The community in my part took up a defense against Fulanis who were trying to intimidate their people. And when they overpowered the Fulanis, the arms they got from these people they were armed from the army barracks in Ogoja. Now, how did I get to know about this? During my intervention, my people said to me, when I was blaming my people, they said to me, yes, this man may have been killed for trying to be a peacemaker. But what is happening is that the people captured arms which came from the nearby barracks, and the officers from those barracks were now pleading with those my people that they should they should give them back the arms and everything will be kept quiet. This is what is happening.
Now, this is on one part that there is a clear, according to him, a link between the support by the Nigerian security forces, reason because the Nigerian security forces own most of these cows in question. They own these cows in question. That's why they appear to give them support.
The president needs to take responsibility. We know that he's a life patron of the Fulani worldwide. He should not allow us to experience him that we now have two states within a state. He either pursues Nigerian interest or take off. He cannot be protecting the Fulani worldwide interest. Because many of the Fulanis who are creating problems are not Nigerians. Because most of them only speak Fufu.
Oh, sorry.
The president needs to take responsibility. We know that he's a life patron of the Fulani worldwide. He should not allow us to experience him that we now have two states within a state. He either pursues Nigerian interest or take off. He cannot be protecting the Fulani worldwide interest because many of the Fulanis who are creating problems are not Nigerians because most of them only speak Fulfulde and Pidgin French. The thing is, the president himself had openly said that these people coming in are foreigners. Governor El-Rufai himself also gave indication. If you are the president of a country and foreigners are coming in to intimidate your own people and to rape your people, I would have thought the commander-in-chief would be the last to accept that. General Muhammad Buhari was my boss, the general officer commanding when I was in 3 DIF. I was commanding a unit under him. He went against Shagari to defend Nigerian interests against Chadians. And in one of the briefings, when he was briefing us, because when they stopped funding the division, he had to use what is called the welfare allowances of division to fund the operations, to ensure that Nigerian islands in Chad were protected. And in his brief, one of the briefings, he openly told us that his family, most of his family are from Njenje, but is a Nigerian officer, and that he owes allegiance to Nigeria. And I admired Buhari then, that what a man whose family is partially from Niger and yet is loyal to Nigeria. This was against all the pressure given by other people that.
Now, question is, what has changed? What has changed? If a man who contested so many times to become your president could keep quiet, his citizens that he swore on oath to protect are being taken down in the south, in the west, in the east, and the man remains aloof. The man does not speak. The man remains an oracle. He says absolutely nothing. And I challenge all the National Assembly men, north, south, east, west, that you are not men. You all are not men, because if you are to be men, you should have done the needful. I would expect one of you to actually raise a motion of impeachment to say that because you have failed the people that you swore on oath to protect, that you should be impeached. But hey, by the way, we call them rubber stampers. So that's what they are. They are rubber stampers. They are stamping. They are there doing absolutely jack all. Nothing that they are doing. And you know, when you look at the whole thing, it is the thing, geez, how did we get into this mess that within a space of 5 to 6 years, everybody's running helter skelter?
In further investigation, I found out that many army barracks or cantonment, because if you know the army barracks have large land for training, they went into this process of allowing for cattle rearing or cattle ranching in the barracks. Those cattle ranchings, for me, have become avenues from which the Fulanis who are genuine are being infiltrated by those who have the agenda to commit atrocities like we saw in Ogun State. So for one thing, the army needs to investigate that what is the ranches in the barracks being used for.
Okay.
Secondly, many of our soldiers, both from the south, from Hausa land, from Benue, invest in this cattle rearing. What they do, they go to Gongola, buy cattle, and then give to Fulanis. This is why you see at times soldiers take interest in defending the Fulanis. Many of them who are pursuing this business interest don't know that the thing is ultimately going to hurt their own people. As this we saw in Benue, and we are seeing now in the Southwest.
I think this will explain one or two things for us. I mentioned it before. One of the reasons why we have these menace keep happening is because there is some interest from those that ought to protect beyond the presidency. I mean, at last Christmas, I was explaining to some people, one thing we have to also learn is many a times, if you come to the Southeast, for instance, you see, assumption is if you see 1,000 cows in the Southeast, I bet you over 800 of those cows belongs to Igboho. If you come to Yoruba land today, you see 1 million cows. Over 80%, 75 to 80% of those cows belong to people in the Southwest. That is a truism. That is a reality. One thing they do is they contract the Fulanis who know how to do this, just like the way you contract people to be your gate man or whatever, however you may wish to call. Now, they don't care. All they do is take these cows, get into farm, again, because they have these people in the police, they have these people in the army, they have them there. So if there is anything, the Nigerian normal nonsense that they do, anything that happens, they call the Oga. Oga makes call to someone at the top, and that's it. Something gets, something that should be treated with all manner of seriousness would be allowed to just go unspoken. Okay? So once we understand these things, we begin to appreciate the fact that there is a greater danger that is going to be a double-edged issue for us. One, there is a battle aside those rearing these cows that we must as well look inwards to understand that yes, our people are also involved. If you go to any of the cow markets that you have in the Southeast today, talk of Oyoga, talk of Gariki in Okigwe, or talk of Amobia, or is the Ebony market, cow market, one recurring decimal. The majority of the traders who deal in these cows are Igbo. Therefore, while we hold those who come with cows by leg responsible, we must begin to also think deeper to hold our own people, because now they are enjoying the fight that no one is talking. They are enjoying the fact that no one is really holding them to account, that we're only just talking about what is happening in the other side of the divide. But somehow, this is something that must be talked about. And in the other hand, like the title says, we had Igboho, who declared war on herdsmen, who basically said, well, I think you people have caused enough atrocities. We are now saying you people should vacate the land. And someone made a comparison that it equals, that is going to lead the North to tell the people of the Southwest, or rather the people of the South, to leave the North. I said, I think I need to say this in this program, that it is not the same thing. If you are an Igbo spare parts dealer, and someone says, because no one, bear in mind again, no one is saying if you're Fulani, vacate the South. No. Because it is always easy when you talk about some issues, like when people say, let's get a referendum to decide how we want to live. And someone said, oh, you're calling for war. What is the link between a referendum and war? A referendum is like a vote. So on this case, vacating the Yoruba nation or the Igbo nation or South doesn't mean you would a call for war, that you should leave the other side. No, it means if as an Igbo man, you are in Kano doing your spare parts business or selling electronics, suddenly you begin to use your electronics to cover the road, my people, and the state comes and says, no, you are causing traffic on this road. You must, if they measure saying 15 meters away from the road, you must not get your things there. And they gave you ultimatum. Clear your, if it's content, clear your television, clear your spare parts, whatever it is. How does that equate to saying that the people of the South has been told to? It is about those dealing on these spare parts or dealing on these electronics to do certain things in order to adhere to certain conditions. If you cannot adhere to these certain conditions, sorry. So when some of us talk about, oh, it's equals to if you drive them away, they will go and drive. No, it's please. Driving somebody away from your farm. When people say, listen, you come into a place, an Igbo man goes somewhere, he builds, he buys land. You come here, goes into, and the worst part is when I, if I bring this back again, when I look at the sheer size, when I look at that we do not even have anything, we don't even have anything close to what they have. And when I look at that, it breaks my heart that someone who has 54,000 square kilometer will be arguing. It's insanity. Someone will be arguing, someone who has 7,000, just 10%. Enugu is barely, well, call it 9% of Niger State. 9%. Do you know what 9% is? Enugu is barely 9% of Niger State. And we'll be talking about, oh, there is an invasion in Enugu. Please use the whole of Enugu in your state and create a ranch. It's common sense. It's common sense. But here we are. Apparently, common sense is not anywhere near the Nigerian borders, talk less of being in Nigeria. You see, Igboho here, that is today, is now asking, okay, it's time to vacate.
Hello. Àwọn bíbúlẹ̀ ní òun ní pé àwọn Fúlàní wọ́n ń da àwọn fámìlì wa láwọn wọ́n ń jí àwọn èèyàn wa gbé wọ́n ń kidnapu àwọn àti wa wọ́n ń dúpọ̀ wọ́n ń rèpù wọn wọ́n ń ṣe yánmayànmá pẹ̀lú wọn. Ìjọba ìpínlẹ̀ Ògùn dẹ̀ sọ pé òun ò fara mọ́ wọn torí pé àwọn ará ìpínlẹ̀ Ògùn lòun jẹ gómìnà lé lórí. So gbogbo ọmọ Yorùbá àtọ́gbà ilẹ̀ Yorùbá àti ìjòyè wọ́n láwọn ò fara mọ́ kí Fúlàní máa jí wa gbé wọ́n máa jẹ oko wa kó máa dà wá láàmú. Ìdí nìyí tá a fi wá sí ìpínlẹ̀ Ògùn lénìí. So gbogbo ọmọ ìpínlẹ̀ Ògùn níbi tí ọjà ọ̀dẹ láwà yìí àbí bẹ́ẹ̀ kọ́ aláwọ̀ ní jẹ́ kí ọjà ọ̀dẹ ó bàjẹ́ aláwọ̀ ní ba ìlú ọjà ọ̀dẹ jẹ́ tí ó wá rí bẹ́ẹ̀ a fẹ́ wọnú igbó Ìgbòho báyìí láti lọ pàdé àwọn Fúlàní tí wọ́n ń gbé wa gbé bóyá àwọn alágbèlè Yorùbá ní o tí Fúlàní ní o àwọn aláàbò bóyá Fúlàní lórílẹ̀ Yorùbá ní o bóyá Yorùbá ní o èmi làámọ̀ kò ní í bẹ̀rẹ̀ àwọn òní balẹ̀ Yorùbá jẹ́ àwọn òní balẹ̀ Yorùbá jẹ́ àwọn òní balẹ̀ Yorùbá jẹ́ ẹjẹ́ ká ṣọ́ra fún àwọn olóṣèlú wa ẹjẹ́ ká ṣọ́ra fún àwọn olóṣèlú òṣèlú kan wọ́n lè máa lo ọgbọ́n àdéhùn láti kọ́ bá wa dá ṣọ́ra fún wọn. Àfẹ́ Fúlàní ajínigbé wọn abẹ́ ìfẹ́ wọn. Àfẹ́ Fúlàní ajínigbé wọn lórí ilẹ̀ bàbá wọn àbí bẹ́ẹ̀ kọ́.
So on this note, I would say for those of you joining us for the first time, if you haven't subscribed to this channel, please subscribe, click on the subscribe button, and like this stream, like this video. This is a live stream. For so many of you who've been saying that you're lucky to get me today on a live stream, please like these videos, that it is going to help others to also see the video and watch this video. Now, like I said at the beginning, I would say it came very late, but better late than never, that the Southeast governors have finally banned open grazing in the Southeast. Now, and someone said, it's a smart move, actually. It's a smart move. And I would have been surprised that by the end of this week, if they didn't do that, because of this, the crisis that is brewing in the Southwest, with the ultimatum by Igboho, it is common sense that they will now be moving to downwards. And I think I will use this opportunity. I know they watch. I will use this opportunity to call on the South governors to also get their acts together, because the only thing that can save us from this madness, it is indeed it is insanity. The only thing that can save us from this insanity is the unity of purpose of the South. This is no time to blame anyone. This was 1967, this was 1970, you did this, you did. No, it is our collective future. What is going to save us is that we will, as a people, begin to come together. And we must come together, because if we don't, we are all collectively doomed. Therefore, the solution to this madness is the coming together of the South. The Southern unity that I have been preaching for so long, I am glad and I can tell us that the Southern unity is happening. I said this at the beginning of this show, this program, that on Thursday, there's going to be a conference on this platform. Please subscribe so that once we come on live, there's going to be a Zoom conference. All leaders from the Southeast, Southwest, Middle Belt will converge here these issues will be looked into and solution profiled. Okay, there are multiple solutions. I mean, solutions are bound, but the unity that we are now beginning to agree on issues is very, very fantastic. That's why it gladdens my heart when I hear like a clip I'll play us in my conclusion. My good friend Dele Mahmood. Some of you might have seen his interview where he lambasted the president on Igbos. You do not want somebody in a marriage. You do not want the person to quit the marriage. And if the person stays in the marriage, you keep abusing the individual. You must be a sadist if you cannot let go. And if you cannot even know there are things you've done wrong and begin to treat the individual right, you can't do that. What we call in Igbo, jebe jebe adịghị mma na ba na ba adịghị mma. You must choose one. Either you restructure back to 1967 or the regions, which can now be looked into and taking the realities of today into consideration, aka Aburi Accord, or you get ready to break the whole bottle. Again, and I come back to this information here. Why would someone who has all this landmass, why would someone who has all this landmass will be afraid of someone who has this tiny landmass, for Christ's sake? Sum all these things together is not up to you. It's barely Kogi. It's barely, look at where Kogi is. Kogi is the 13th. So the whole entire Southeast is barely Kogi, slightly above Oyo. And there's people say, okay, if you're not treating us right, we will go. You say no. If you're so good and you know what you want, you have all the landmass. Make it Dubai. Honestly, we don't care. But if we must stay together, then we must stay together. That's where equity comes in. Let me play the last clip from my good brother, Cornel Young here, as he explains something that you will find, I believe, interesting.
It's very good that you are mentioning Bukola Saraki, who was the Senate president who conveyed a Senate summit on security. In that conference, the DGSSS, that is the DGSSS, I think, Daura, openly, in giving an overview of the security situation to the summit, in which the service chiefs were all in attendance. I was there representing PANDEV, Niger Delta Forum. The DGSSS, in a very patriotic tone, briefed all of us that some of the arms seen with the Fulani or headers, some of the arms came from the army armories and police armories. He briefed that openly. Bukola Saraki was present there, so was the present Senate President, Lawan, they were all present. When this briefing was given by the former DG, who is himself a Fulani man, he said that the arms at times seen with the Fulani headband came from the identities of numbers on the arms showed that they came from the army armories or police armories. And the only person, the chief of army staff was present, the chief of naval staff was present, the only person who responded to the remark made by DGSSS was the then IG of police, who said the police arms, the share of the police was small. This is what is happening in our country.
You see, this is what is happening in our country, in the sense that the sacked Daura, the one that Osibanjo sacked when he came back. According to him, when these arms were recovered by the herdsmen, they saw Nigerian army guns, Nigerian police guns bought by your own money to protect you, to protect your mom that has gone to the farm, to protect your dad, to protect you and I, will be given to people who are herders. Not all these are criminal activities per se, but it will bring to light when I say that because those in the security forces are among those. I have written about this before, actually, in one of my essays, where I says the easiest way to actually launder, if you loot money, if you steal money today in Nigeria, the easiest way to hide your money is to hide them in cows. Because they move. You can hide 1 trillion in cows and nobody will know about them because they don't pay taxes. You see them, they just move. If they are moving, you see cows moving. You've never heard that this person stole 50 billion. It's either is in an account which can be, backtracked and audit trailed back to you because there is BVN. But if you steal 200 billion and put it in cow, nobody tracks it. Our cows are not chipped. I mean, we are lazy thinkers. Our leader, when I say lazy thinkers, that's whom we are. Because we're not even thinking. If we are a thinking people, we could actually make money through these cows. But we are not. All they do is only destruction. You go to the city of Abuja, the federal cow petal, COW petal territory. That's what it is. The federal cow petal territory, they block roads. It's just like insanity. Yet you're not among the 28 producers of meat, even cow, myself, you are not. But cow causes trouble everywhere. It diminishes me to be discussing cow. For Christ's sake, it diminishes us. People are Rwanda. I saw a clip this morning. Rwanda is using a robot to attend to people in COVID isolation center. And in Nigeria, we are talking about cow, efi, cow, malu, shanu. Cow. Nigeria, we are talking about cow. Now, wow. Conclusively here, in conclusion, I would say, just like my good friend Dele Mahmoud said, and which I agree with, something must give way. Something must give way. The nation must know that Ndibo are a people. There are things we say, people say we are arrogant, sadly. But it's good that some of these things that many of our brothers and sisters from the other side think as arrogant. You know that when you hold someone to the ground, know that you are not going to stand up, because that person, you hold someone to the ground, you're holding yourself to the ground. You're holding someone to the ground, you're holding yourself. That means for you to begin to liberate yourself, you begin to liberate your mind and begin to liberate your thinking. If you want to make progress, you begin to change the way the equations are balanced. And how can you do that? Let's go to my good friend and brother, Dele Mahmoud, and say, Dele, can you give us some input here? Thank you.
How can anybody say an Igbo man cannot be president of Nigeria and I will accept it? Then it shows how brainless I am. If I'm the president of Nigeria today, I would have turned Southeast Nigeria into the hub, our own Silicon Valley. These are people endowed. They are as brilliant as the Chinese, the Koreans, and the Indians put together. We have them. Why are we not using them? But because there was a civil war before, and we said we have forgiven ourselves, and now, but you are forgiving yourselves, but an Igbo man cannot become anything in Nigeria, cannot be president, cannot be trusted to be Inspector General of Police, cannot be trusted. Why? Look at Joe Biden. He has already appointed Nigerians into his government. Already. Before his inauguration, he already appointed Nigerians. He didn't say, because they say Nigerians, so they are very corrupt people, all those stupid, sentiments that people express against us. He appointed them. Why? He saw their talent. He appointed the first black man. Now, Pentagon has a new Secretary of Defense. He's a black man. In Nigeria, you say an Igbo man cannot be Inspector General of Police, an Igbo man cannot be Chief of Army Staff, an Igbo man. Why? So if you don't want them, if you don't trust them, and they say they want to go, then so why are you then stopping them? Why are you stopping them? You don't want me, and you are saying, even slaves got freedom. These are people contributing to world economy, not just, listen, not Nigerian economy. The Igbos are contributing to world economy. There is no country I have been, I will not find an Igbo man either at the peak of academia, at the peak of business, at the peak of professions. They are everywhere. Medical doctors, surgeons, lawyers, bankers, they are everywhere. And then you come back to Nigeria, you are discriminating against them. And you are saying they will not agitate for their own nation. We are the ones causing the problem. If you want an Igbo man, then bring them nearer. And see if they will not perform. In this Lagos today, where we live, anything we want to do now, innovation, the first thing is, let's go to Computer Village. Who are the people controlling Computer Village? Let's go to Alaba. Who are the people controlling Alaba? Do you think people with empty brains can control those things that the Igbos control? Even with all this fight, Biafra, if you go to Kano today, without the Igbo selling spare parts, nobody will function. All the cars there will come to stand still. You go to Sokoto, you will meet them there. Go to Borno, go to Iraq, go to Afghanistan, you see Igbo man doing great.
See, if I was the one saying it, I could be accused of self-praise. But I'm happy that someone else said it on our behalf. There is one adage that says when you crack the pan kernel, or on a stone, if you do not count the amount of pan kernel you have cracked, the stone counts for you. Subscribe to this channel, like this video. We are rounding up now. The bottom line now remains that like someone said here, that the Southeastern governors are playing games with us. My brother, before this news, we were already planning on something, because I think we cannot keep quiet. Now, this news is not going to in any way deter us from what is being planned. But I think we need to change our style of action, and which is we are cutting the House of Assembly. We are pampering them too much by concentrating too much on the governors. I explain. They get their salary. Their job is to make laws. Let us beam our searchlight to them in every single state. Maybe we'll have to start with every single speaker within the Southeast region. They have to tell us or show to us that they have taken these open grazing laws to the assemblies. And if it comes to the point of assent. If the governors haven't assented to that, then leave the bone for the dog, and forget the battle with the spirit world. The dog must surely find a way to battle the gods, because in no way shall we keep quiet. We have kept quiet enough. Like Lolo Sedieme said, we have kept quiet enough. Change must come. And that change we must demand, because change is not given. It's only the APC and the Buhari-led administration that we believed that they will give us change. But we have seen that the change has gone to Njenje. So from change, it has gone to Njenje. But now we must be awake. We must be awake. So think about my proposition this evening to us. We must change course. I think for so long we've kind of singled out the governors. We're giving the governors even powers that they do not have, whereas we have actually ignored the people that has the real power. Because in the Southwest, remember, it's only when the Southwest Houses of Assembly ratified the Regional Security Bill, that was only time that happened. And I believe if the Southwest want to do like what the Southeastern governors obviously have announced, it's also the same route, open grazing. I mean, I think under Fayoshe then, Ekiti State had open grazing that was enforced via the community hunters or the local hunters. But here now we are, that these assemblymen and women, listen, Israel to says they are the stooge of the governors. It is our duty to break that stooginess. Listen, they have a duty to do. They are closer to us. They are your brothers, my brothers, our sisters. It is our duty. When they begin to know that action will come, they will. Because they will feel the heat the most. They will feel the heat. Let them, the only way they can wiggle themselves out of what is about to come upon them is that they will begin to say, okay, we have done the needful and this document is sitting here. We'll shake them. You've done your duty. Then we'll now go and see who is, who to hold responsible. It's going to be a name and shame. Someone asked, who are those Igbos that are in cow business? I laugh. I say, where are you? Are you coming from a different planet? If you want to know, go and buy cows. Go and buy cow. Go to Okigwe. Go to Amansi. Go to Oga. You see them there. They are there. If, there is one... I don't need to tell you, in Anambra State, for Anambra State, for instance, anytime you see a cow in Anambra State, I can tell you this for free, 90% of the cows in Anambra State are owned by Anambra indigents. But sadly, when a trouble breaks out, the cow owners take back seat and allow sometimes, caveat here, sometimes the innocent cow headers who are paid monthly stipends, maybe 15, 20,000. When you see these people actually, sometimes you pity them because they don't really earn enough. They don't even earn something tangible, because they are paid salary. Majority of the headers you see in the Southeast are equivalent of the gate men, because this is what, the gate men, this is what they pay. They pay them because as their job. So that's basically their job, to take and look after this cow, because an Igbo man doesn't have that, he doesn't, or Southerners don't really have that gift of rearing cows. They have other gifts, they have other gifts. They have gifts maybe of trade, of comprehending technology probably better than others, but not that gift of rearing cows. Therefore, we should be able to put this into two contexts. One is criminal headers. They are criminal. They are nothing. There is no difference between kidnappers, terrorists, bandit. These are criminal headers who come in to destroy and rape and do all manner of evils in the community. That is on one hand. On the other hand, people, your brothers, my brothers, our friends, fellow Southerners, fellow Igbos have employed to look after their cows. I'll tell us this. I hope many of you are aware that we have Igbos who have lived in the north. They are traders. I know one in Anambra. I won't mention name. But when it gets to October, November, they go to, Old Gongola. They go to Mobi, Yola, Jimeta, Taraba, Wokari, all these bushes, areas. They come back with these cows in trucks and start feeding them between November, December, because if they come back with 300, 400 cows, they bought them cheap and they keep them because they are going to sell them with 30, 40% markup between the 20th of December and maybe 20th of January, because that's when people need those red meat more. But also, if you are serious, not only they're typing, oh, they are killing us, the headers are killing us, you and I must also change our taste and change our appetite. We can change. If you can, it is insanity to be feeding those that kill you. You can't be eating red meat every single time and you're crying because you are giving them your money to reinforce and buy ammunition and come and deal with you. So, bail yourself with your pocket. It's as easy as that. Do I need to spill? Do I need to break that down for you? Bail yourself with your pocket. Change. Begin to eat goat, chicken everywhere. Red meat is actually not good for you, for your kidney, for your liver. So, wait, move into white meat. Eat chicken. It's even better. The cows that destroy the farmlands, we do not have dairies from them. We don't have any yogurt. We don't have any milk. We are only killing for protein. Insanity. Insanity. I mean, honestly, sometimes I don't even know how it baffles me to actually think, when we begin to look at it, look at these things critically. It baffles me that we got to this point where the whole nation is only talking about cow, 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 cow. And everybody is cowing everything. It's a cow country. That's what we have become. Our conversation is cowed. Everything we do is cowed. Yet, those that ought to be in authority, as Njenje said in the clip I played before, they are the ones that own these cows. The president will not speak. He is a Fulani by tribe. He owns cows. He is their grand patron. Maybe that's why suddenly he becomes mute. Imagine for one second that the menace that we have today is caused by Igboho. What do you think will be happening across Nigeria? Imagine for 1 second that every single place, if you're moving from Onitsha to Zamfara, every single place in the northern hinterland, containers are killing people, destroying shops, and these are Igbo containers. Why? Because the containers are not properly lashed. Not that the containers can move. let's get something clear. No one says there shouldn't be any cow. No, what people are saying is, and what that causes the issue is, that cows must move in trucks. So imagine for 1 second that Igbos have containers, they are not properly lashed. Shouldn't the conversation be, we will put a regulation that every single container that carries, so every single truck that carries a container must be properly lashed so that it doesn't fall. Will the conversation be, oh, Igbos are killing everybody? And it's a question of regulation. If the federal government cannot regulate it, which they have failed to do in terms of these herdsmen, states can say, well, if you do not have this specification on trucks, you cannot come into my state. And they have to implement it. So would the Igbos now go and say, oh, Castina doesn't want me. They hate Igbo. They say Igbo should go. If the Igbo man is paying rent and doing business like every other person, I mean, Gariki, right from the time of when Gariki was in Omahia, before eventually was moved, under the time of Ikenwosu, is it Ikenwosu or Ikenwachuku? I think the guy from Oga, a military head of state. Right from that time, when it was in Overrail, across the rail, across the other side, it was at some point giving problem. It has to be moved. So no one was talking about it's these people, it's the other people. But the bottom line is that we must begin to, explain this thing. It's our job to explain this thing for people to begin to comprehend it. Because when I see that people are saying, you're killing us, you're hurting us, and people are reacting, from the other side, all I can see, oh, you're hating us, you're telling our people to go. No. And someone say, oh, you're declaring war. Who is declaring war? You've already declared war by invading people's farmland. I mean, the video clip where you saw somebody's yam barn was taken. Yeah, thank you. Konaike Wachuku, from Oga, I believe. So if somebody's yam barn was invaded, you've already declared war. Just that there are some issues, our reaction, again, you see, when you push people to the wall, some of you who have accused me in forums that I should probably have condemned the trending video. I say, listen, when you push people to the wall, you cannot guarantee how they will react. And that's what you have succeeded in doing. For several freaking years, people have been saying, tame these people. Even to the point that former President Olusegun Obasanjo had to even come to a point of saying, under my watch, OPC was becoming an issue. He had to give a shoot-aside order. Granted, you could now go and look at it, the legality of it. Does he have the right? What is the human right angle? But at least show anger that can prove to your people, to your words, to the people you govern, that you do not support this level of barbarism. But by keeping quiet, and for people to tell you your land or your life, which one is better? Like Femi Adesina once said, is it not better to give up your land for rather than to lose your life? And I'm like, boy, who is talking about such nonsensical talk? If you can look at these statistics again and tell me, how can a state with 76,000 square kilometer be talking about taking land from someone who has barely 10%? And that is the highest. The 10% is Enugu, which is the highest in the whole Southeast. The conversation must continue. And enjoin every one of us to please, if you haven't, subscribe to the channel and join us on Thursday, because the southern leaders and the middle belt leaders will come on this, on this channel. We will keep talking, and we will keep, looking at those who are behind these things, and gradually we will be exposing these things. Because enough, when you push people to the wall, when you when you push people to the wall, there is nothing, you cannot guarantee how they are going to react. On that note, I would say thank you very much. Sadly, for this evening, because it's already late, it's almost 11:30 here in Nigeria, I would not be taking telephone calls. But apart from the conversation on Thursday, Friday, 7 o'clock Nigerian time, is going to be hangout with Mazes, okay, where we'll relax, go grab your beer, grab your wine, grab your Coke. So on hangout is normally a relaxed evening. We will have conversation where you can now ring in, and we'll have, we'll speak to one another. This evening, what I'm going to say is thank you very much for joining me. If once more, like this video, because you can't light up a candle and put it beneath the table. So for the fact that you've still stayed with me for the past an hour, getting to an hour and a half, it means the conversation is interesting to you. If you also want to reach me, if there are things that you think we're in, no one is an island of knowledge, you could always send me an email, and that email address is at Mazes, okay, at gmail.com. That's MAAZIEZEOKE at gmail.com, or you can bell Njenje Media at gmail.com. Most times, if you do, the staffs at the back end, they can get, if they consider it something that deserve my attention, they can get the email to me. Or if you want to follow me on Twitter, you can do so. And my Twitter handle is very simple. And I would endeavor, and I will ask you that you do, because most times it appears I'm more active on Twitter. If I do share more stuff on Twitter. So if you can follow me on Twitter as well, that will be more appreciated as well. I would quickly put on the screen the email the email addresses that you can reach me with, and do bear with me. Sometimes a lot of email do come in that it might take time for me to write back. On that note, I'll say thank you very much for your time. The email, I believe, is now on the screen. You can see my Twitter handle there, and that is Mazes, okay, or the email address you can use in reaching me. So, people, again, like I said at the beginning, it's I'm somehow glad that this is the ban by the Southeast governors has taken effect, but we cannot relent. We cannot relent, people. We must still find a way to get to the people who really have the powers. That is the state assemblymen and the women who have the right and the powers to make laws for us within the states. On that note, I will say thank you very much for joining me this evening. Have a wonderful night, and we'll see you on Thursday or on Friday, as the case may be. Thank you.